they became rich by scamming good people. But who's behind these huge scams? Here are the 3 biggest con artists in history. The fake sultan. Born in Colombia in 1970, Anthony Gignac was abandoned by his mother. At a very young age, he was adopted by an American couple and moved to Michigan in the United States. However, at the age of 17, after his adoptive parents divorced, he ran away and embarked on a double life as a fake member of the Saudi royal family. In 2015, he became known as Khalid bin Al Saud, a Saudi sultan. Thanks to his new status, he joined the Miami jet set while orchestrating a publicity stunt around his persona. He wore traditional Saudi clothing and fake luxury jewelry and owned a bling-bling chihuahua adorned with diamonds which were obviously fake. He had a Ferrari with a fake diplomatic license plate bought for $79, bodyguards with fake diplomatic badges, and he even had elaborate business cards written in Arabic. His plan was perfectly executed. At business dinners, he demanded that royal traditions be respected, forcing his guests to give him very expensive gifts as tradition dictates. Thanks to this scheme, he amassed nearly $7 million. However, in 2017, his scam came to an end because of a totally unlikely detail. While trying to manipulate Jeffrey Sofer, a real estate mogul, he made a fatal mistake. He ordered prosciutto, a pork-based food that is strictly forbidden in Islam. This simple misstep aroused Sofer's suspicions, who decided to investigate. Within days, the truth came out. Prince Halim bin Al Saud never existed. After more than 30 years of fraud, Anthony Gignac was arrested in 2019 and sentenced to 18 years in prison for fraud, identity theft, and money laundering. The art forgers. For 4 decades, Wolfgang and Hélène Beltraki orchestrated one of the biggest scams in the art market's history. Their masterstroke was to paint fakes so perfect that they fooled collectors, experts, and even the world's greatest museums. However, to pull off their scam, the couple didn't choose just any works. They recreated lost paintings that had disappeared over time, claiming that they belonged to Hélène's grandfather. With no trace and no possible comparison, their tracks were covered. Wolfgang, a self-taught painter of genius, imitated the styles of the greatest artists with such precision that no one questioned the authenticity of these works for nearly 20 years. Meanwhile, Hélène took care of authentication and sales, turning their fake paintings into a priceless estate. But after decades of undisturbed success, a simple scientific analysis brought their empire crashing down. In 2010, a painting attributed to Heinrich Campendonck was submitted for expert analysis and disaster struck. It contained white pigments manufactured in 1920, even though the work was supposed to date from 1914. Their deception was finally revealed. Arrested the same year, Wolfgang was sentenced to 6 years in prison and Hélène to 4. According to Wolfgang, hundreds of paintings were sold for fortunes, but to date, only 14 of their fake paintings have been identified, including this fake De Rein sold for $7 million to a New York gallery. Far from regretting their scams, they are proud of what they did. In 2015, they published a shocking book, Selbst Portrait or Master Forgers, in which they recount in detail how they swindled the art market without ever being exposed. Victor Lustig, the Eiffel Tower seller. It's 1925 in Paris, and Victor Lustig is a seasoned con artist. He's reading a newspaper at a cafe when an article strikes him. The Eiffel Tower burdens Paris's treasury. Built in 1889, the tower was rusting and repairs were a real financial drain. So he got a wild idea: trick others into believing City Hall was selling it for parts. He called the top 5 Paris scrap dealers to a posh hotel. Disguised as a senior civil servant, he offered to sell the 7,000 tons of scrap metal from the tower once it had been dismantled. One of them, named André Poisson, which literally means fish in French, took the bait. He signed a large check and even paid him a bribe. Except that, of course, the Eiffel Tower was never demolished. André Poisson was so ashamed of being scammed that he didn't tell the police. The con artist tried again, but this time the new buyer reported him and Victor Lustig fled to the United States. There, he turned to counterfeiting and even swindled the famous gangster Al Capone. He eventually got caught and was sentenced to 15 years in prison.